Good evening and welcome to this week's episode of Sunday Night Live. Tonight we have our monthly segment on fixed ops retention strategies. And tonight we're going to be talking about the active delivery, an integral part of fixed ops retention strategies. So we have with us our guests, or fellow panelists, I should say, Mike Vogel, Joe Clementi, and Robert Sebastian. Gentlemen, for those that may not know you, a short intro, and then we'll jump right into it.
Hey, everybody, this is Mike Vogel, and I'm excited to be here tonight because I'm passionate about the fixed ops business, as most of you probably know by now. And thanks for joining us. We look forward to a hot event, just like the hot temperatures in Southern California.
Excellent.
Hi, welcome everybody. I'm excited to talk about our fixed operations. It's a passion product for me as well. My name is Joe, and looking forward to this great discussion. Thanks for having me.
Hey, welcome friends. I'm Robert Sebastian. I'm with gravitationalbusiness.com. We do online training for service advisors, and I am passionate about retention. There's so many aspects to it, and I'm excited to be here tonight to talk about active delivery.
Welcome, gentlemen. And for those that don't know me, I'm Paul Meijer, and this is our show. So the active delivery, people interpret it different ways. I see it as the communication between the service advisor and the customer. All right. Trust takes a long time to build, and trust can be lost in an instant. Okay. And I'll relay a situation that happened to me one time where, I had dropped my car off for service and I get a phone call that, you need this, you need this filter, you need some other stuff. And I said, yeah, go ahead and do it. I thought it might be a little premature. So I said, put the old part on the seat for me. So when I come to pick it up, I can just take a look at it. Well, when I get there, it turns out I didn't need that part after all. I took the old part and I went to the parts department. I had them pull a new comparable part and I held them side by side up to the light. And lo and behold, I didn't need to hold it up to the light, but I did that for dramatic effect. So the trust can be lost real quickly. I had the technician put the old filter back in the car because there was, in fact, nothing wrong with it. So with active delivery, it's the importance of communicating all of the information and all of the steps along the way to make the customer comfortable. And then at the very end, the crowning moment is to go over what you did. And if there's any parts involved that the customer wants to see, to share that as well. So Mike, why don't you kick us off with, what you see as a best practice?
So for me, the two most important steps in the service visit are the service reception and write-up. Obviously, when the customer arrives, we want to, we want them to be greeted promptly and for a friendly visit and all the information that's necessary to be collected at the time of reception. I think the same holds true for the active delivery. I mean, we go through all this effort to get the customer in, get the car through the shop, fix the car, make recommendations if there are any, finish the car. And then if we do a poor active delivery, what is the customer going to remember? That last part of the visit. Steps 1, 2, 3, and 4 may go well or reasonably well. But if that last step goes poorly, forget it. You've lost a customer. What I would like to see all dealerships go to on an active delivery is self-cashiering. I think the handoff to a cashier is kind of a slap in the face. We see that in the sales department also, but now you see sales departments transitioning to one person handling from beginning to end, which I think is a positive direction. I never understood in the variable side how somebody can sell you the car, but then hand you off to finance, and then hand you off to a delivery expert. How many people do I need to talk to? I think the same thing holds true on the active delivery. Who better to go over what was done on the car, what the costs are, thank them for their business, especially, and talk about their next visit and what might be upcoming so they can prepare for the future. So for me, the write-up at the beginning and the active delivery at the end are the most important parts of the service visit, bar none.
It's the first impression, right?
The first impression and the last impression. They're going to remember those two things for sure. You can have hiccups during the way. You might have a delay in parts, or maybe the car didn't get done on time, and you can handle those accordingly. But how do you fix an active delivery that's done poorly? It's too late. They're gone.
You know, what's interesting is that there are many similarities between the restaurant business and the car business. And, you know, I'm with you on the simplification of the when they're coming to pick up the car, right? I'm a big advocate for communication, both verbal communication on the phone, as well as sending them via PDF, all of the information. You're sending them the video MPI. You're sending them, which shows them specifically the items that were checked. You're sending them the specifications of their tires, of their brakes, and everything that you've checked. Then at the end, why not send them a way to pay for their bill at the same time, right on their phone? I can't tell you how many times on a Friday afternoon I would see the cashier backed up, right? And everybody today thinks that they are the most important person in the room. You can have 50 people in a room, and each and every one of them thinks they're the most important. So I would regularly see customers in line waiting for the cashier, getting frazzled because here are the customers at the booth ready to pay, but yet that customer has questions that maybe weren't answered by the advisor. Right?
So I'm going to push back on you for a second, Paul.
Yeah.
As much as I love technology just as much as the next person. However, what I'm afraid of with some service advisors and service managers for that point is becoming too dependent on the technology. How easy is it for a service advisor to have the customer pay online, review the multi-point inspection, review their invoice, and maybe not even come see you? I don't know. I think we've lost track of the fact that we need to take ownership. And when I say we, I mean the service advisor. They need to take ownership of each and every customer that they touch because that's their future livelihood, period. So if I'm a lazy service advisor and I hand off the technology to do my job for me, I'm going to lose that opportunity. Personally, I want to see that customer face to face. I want to thank them for their business. I want to review everything that I've sent to them. And I want to answer any questions they might have and end that on a very, very positive note.
Well, I think you can still do that. But
yes, sure.
The payment piece, right? If I'm the advisor, before I get an okay on the job, I've sent all the information for the customer to review. I've then reviewed it with them to make sure that they have a full understanding of it. So when I call and I let them know that the car's done, right? And we're assuming, of course, that the customer's communicated with along the way, hey, your car's in the shop now. We're waiting on parts now. The car just finished. It's going in the cleanup, right? And then when it's done, I call the customer and I review everything that I already spoke with them about. So now this is their second full explanation of what we did to their car and why. And then for me, the pay on your phone piece is just easy. They still need to come in and get the car. And like you, I'm a big proponent of, hey, thank you very much. Were there any other questions? Because we've already covered it twice now, right? The convenience of paying on their phone. They come in, you thank them again. And I'm a big one for grabbing their keys and walking them either to the car or having the car in the delivery bay ready to go. So I'm not talking about just sending them the
No, I know that. I was talking to our audience, and what you're talking about is perfect world. What I'm concerned with
I live in
is
a perfect world.
what I'm concerned with is how many people use technology to be lazy.
Right?
You're right.
That's what I'm concerned with. So in my day writing service, we didn't have the technology. So there wasn't any choice of just sending it off or having them pay online. And so what I'm trying to enlighten maybe to rookie service advisors, Greenpeace service advisors is you got to do everything from A to Z. That you can't take any shortcuts. And technology to me is a shortcut, really. And so if you take away the personality out of the visit, what are you left with?
Well, you got to blend them, right? It has to be a blend of technology and the human experience. And that's what you're talking about, Mike, is that when an advisor relies solely on the electronic communication or technology to drive the relationship, and that isn't going to happen. So it's when that advisor takes the time to explain what we did, why we did it, and when we want to see you next. Like those are the 3 W's that have to happen every time. What we did, why we did it, and when we want to see you next. And as they're building that relationship, when that client takes that $1,500 bill home, now they know the crux of what's behind the repair, as well as why they spent the money. And there's a better connection. And for those clients that are in the use of technology for speed, they could still use that technology as long as that touch point happens. And I think that's the missing link, right? Is the touch
it could be the missing link.
Right. The touch point, the actual interaction between the advisor and the client who's leaving the facility.
Right.
Now, just a reminder, the format of our fixed op retention strategy show is we discuss the topic and then we make note of questions and we go back and then we touch on all the questions, right? So just want to let everybody know that. So it's a little bit different than the typical Sunday Night Live show, but I didn't want you guys to think that we're ignoring you because we're certainly not. We want to make sure that we get everything out and then we'll definitely get back to some of the points raised. Mr. Sebastian.
All right. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what active delivery is not. It's not a time to ask the customer out on a date. You already got their phone number. You're not verifying information for that purpose. Look, this is for a very small percentage, but it has to be said occasionally because I worked in sales with a guy who always ended up dating. He literally ran across the lot to help all the ladies that he was attracted to. And then he ended up dating them, but that's not good for the dealership. And that dealership tolerated it. And the general manager actually joked about it. He always said, you have to first have them sign the contract and you have to deliver the car before you can date them. But okay, that's just a sidebar. Okay. But what is also not, it's not telling them what we could have done. For example, in a recent visit, I went in for an oil change. Wonderful young man, sincere, hardworking, really nice. But I asked him actually during the delivery, I said, do you guys check the recalls on the vehicles every time I come in here? And it was my first time at this dealership. And he says, oh yeah, of course we do. And I've already paid for the service, by the way. And he says, you have 2 recalls on this vehicle, but I figured you were in a hurry and you wouldn't have the time to get them done. So they were short recalls. One of it is just an inspection on a trailer hitch, which on my vehicle, there's not a trailer hitch. So it's basically an administrative fee. You have to look to make sure there's not a problem with some kind of wiring, I think. So the other one, again, it's a very simple reprogramming, but he never asked. So active delivery is not telling the customer what we could or should have done. For example, in another instance, the same young man, I'm listening, obviously, I'm observing everything he's doing. He's delivering the vehicle to another customer and he said, oh, by the way, your brakes are kind of at whatever, 20%, and we need to do those next time. But how do you know where the customer is going next? So that's not a good active delivery to tell the customer what they could have done while they were there and cover things that we should have covered on the front end. And another thing that the active delivery is not, is sending the customer into a parking lot the size of a giant Walmart parking lot. I'm in Phoenix, Arizona right now. It's 115 degrees, and let them wander around and look for their vehicle. Ideally, you pull the vehicle up, already have the AC running, and then we cover, just like you guys said, we cover the things that we have done. We build that value because there's a problem. The problem is that the value of the services that we purchase abruptly diminishes as soon as we buy them, especially on these unseen. I've seen guys go home and the wife says, "What did you spend $450 on? You went in for an oil change." And he couldn't explain the value. He couldn't build the value. He had to sleep on the couch that night because the service advisor didn't do a good active delivery. Active delivery, you build the value. The customer's got to understand what they're paying for, because buyer's remorse sets in. Obviously, we have a promise that we will always tell you all you need to know in order to keep you safe, in order to keep your investment protected, in order to bring you financial benefit. And that's how you explain everything we've done to your vehicle. You've chosen the best parts. You've chosen the best technicians. That MPI that we show you is not just a piece of paper. And that's why it's important to show videos that our guys do a 360-degree inspection on the tires. We look for nails if you live in an area with housing construction, which is pretty much all of us. 99% of Americans live in an area where there's some kind of construction going on. So we don't wait until the light is on to inspect your tire. We actually look 360. So those little things, just like I saw in a wrapper at In-N-Out Burgers, the wrapper says, "We hand leaf our lettuce daily." And I'm thinking to myself, how is that even relevant? But then I'm thinking, oh, it has to do with freshness. So when you cover all these little details that customers cannot see, those are unseen. When I read that, I was like, wow, I'm coming back here because they hand leaf their lettuce daily. But anyways, it starts with leadership. You have to decide what kind of experience, what level of experience would you like to deliver to your customers, and then empower your advisors to actually be able to bring that car up into the delivery area. Because if that phone's ringing off the hook, if there are 5 customers in front of them, it's impossible. The advisors immediately are going to push back. They're going to tell you, well, I'd love to do that, but guess what? I'm writing 26 ROs. There's no way I can pull up 26 cars at 5:30 p.m.
I'm with you on the process, right? I'm a big believer in always give more value than the customer expects. I'm one for, to educate them. I think we should all become educators. We're not salespeople. We're not service advisors. We're educators, okay? And we can educate the customer on how their car works, what they need to do to maintain it. And I'll give you, for instance, in my variable ops training, the customer always has an issue with the value of their trade-in. All right. So I tell these guys, okay, I don't want you to toss the key to the manager while you're doing something else. No, you've spent an hour and a half with the customer. The customer has some level of trust with you. Now you're bringing in a manager that's going to do an appraisal. I say walk the trade with the manager and with the customer. And before you even get started, you make light of it. You tell the customer, hey, listen, you thought you were just coming to buy a car today? Guess what? I'm going to teach you how to appraise cars. You will be a certified appraiser by the time you leave here, right? So you're teaching them how to appraise cars. You're teaching them, and in the process of teaching them how to do it, they feel more comfortable because they have a better understanding of it. And chances are good they're going to come to a quicker agreement on price because they understand it more, all right? And it's the same thing with the active delivery and service. If you educate the customer as to what and why things need to be done and what the benefit is, we talk about tires. The first point of defection is tires. So part of every active delivery should be going over what the tire specs were. And based on the last 5 times you were in, and we've measured the tire wear, we estimate, let's say they come in August, we estimate that in October, you're going to need tires. You're probably going to need tires. So what I'd like you to do is pop in September so we can take a peek at it to see whether or not you need to do them then or if you do them in October, because you always want to plan for it ahead of time. There's no worse time to do a repair than when you're not prepared for it, or financially or otherwise. And then take it one step further. Say, look, I'm going to reach out to you in September just as a reminder for you to come in. So you've had the tire conversation with them several times. They know you're in the tire business. They know you're going to call them in September, but don't leave it to chance. Create an opcode in your DMS that says October tires, and you attach that to their RO. So now in September, guess what you're going to do? Just like you run declined service opcodes, you run your October tires, and you call these people. Hey, it's Paul from XYZ Repair Shop. Just wanted to remind you, you were going to pop in to have us take a look at your tires, but don't just call, send a text, send an email, right? For me, that's a good active part of active delivery, because you're following up on the promise that you made to them to look out for their safety and the performance of their car. So that's a little cheat that's going to help you sell more tires.
Earlier in your conversation, Paul, I wanted to throw in there, one of the things that I always look for as an advisor and as a manager was creating what I call the wow factor. And so for decades now, we've talking about customer satisfaction. We haven't moved a needle. We talk about customer retention. We haven't moved a needle. Really, I think we need to set the bar higher and create more wow factors where you create customer advocates. What could be better for a service advisor than creating that wow factor with a customer? And that wow factor doesn't have to be something huge. It could be something very, very simple. Let's face it, in repair shops throughout the country, we've set the bar pretty low as far as customer service is concerned. So if we do these little things that a customer is not used to, we might be able to create a wow fairly easily. And if the wow leads to customer advocates, guess what? Now, not only do I have that customer returning, but I have their friends, their coworkers, their neighbors. It's
everybody.
It's so sad that there's not enough people willing to put in the time and effort necessary to take it up a notch and make these things happen, because that's what it's going to be all about. What we've done up to now, the survey system from the early 90s, has done nothing to move the needle. Now we've been talking about retention for probably a decade. Needle still hasn't moved. Obviously, we're not doing enough. We're talking about it, we're thinking about it, but we're not doing anything about it.
It has a lot to do with leadership for sure, because Linda, I saw, made a comment that we have a lot of lazy advisors. That's the truth, right? But show me a lazy advisor, and sorry to say it, I'm going to show you a lazy manager. And could be a nice guy, could be sincere, may have achieved a lot in his career, but got lazy. There's no way your team is going to be lazy if you're leading the charge and if you set the bar high, just like you said, Mike. So it always starts with leadership. And of course, it starts even higher, because you got to have owners and GMs who will not allow a manager to be lazy either. And when an outside consultant comes in, and the consultant, I've been the manager, by the way, who got complacent, and I had consultants come in and they started digging in my ROs, and I was like, oh, come on, we're doing everything perfect. What are you talking about, one-line ROs, craziness. And what is this delivery thing that we're supposed to put a little thank you note on their dash and give them 3 referral cards and ask them, because we serviced all makes and models. And hey, who else might want to experience the kind of service level that you have experienced with us, right? You can say that with confidence when you deliver exceptional service. But again, you're lazy if your manager is lazy. The other thing is, a couple of people hinted. One is, what about pickup and delivery? Or what about when the customer wants touchless, contactless service? Video goes a long way. So you can send them videos reviewing what you have done and doing the active delivery. If the customer is picking up after hours, a video goes a long way, personal video, and learn how to do a crappy video. Sorry for the word, but learn how to do a cheesy video, because it's you. And of course, it takes some coaching. Get some coaching from someone. Get your advisors coached, or have a person who's in charge of this. If you have advisors who are absolutely camera shy, okay, well, I don't think that you can force everybody. But that doesn't mean that you don't thank the customer and you don't do the active delivery practically with a video when they're picking up after hour, or if it's pickup and delivery to their home. You still want to let them know, and most importantly, reassure them during that process that you're available not 24/7, but you're available immediately during business hours if they have a concern.
And like Paul said earlier, you can still save all parts.
Right.
I mean, the proof is right there. Videos, no question, is great. It's definitely a game changer for the business, no question. But if I have a customer proving a repair over video, what would be the harm in saving the old parts for the customer? It's just one extra little step because they have to be thrown out anyway.
Right.
Show
And in most cases, we used to throw the parts out right on the service drive. But it was the fact that the customer got to see it, you got to show them and explain the what, the why, the how.
And there are a lot of shops that have a brake setup ready to go, a mock-up brake setup, a brake rotor on bearings with a brake caliper, where they can demonstrate that. So what a value builder to have a customer come in that just spent $450 on a set of brake pads and rotors. What a value builder to show them, hey, listen, I know we spoke about this on the phone and I know we sent you a video, but I want you to have a full understanding of how this works. This is a brake rotor. It spins as your car is driving. When you step on the brake pedal, fluid goes through and it squeezes the brake caliper. And you can see here how this is stopping the wheel from turning. We took the liberty of saving your old parts because I wanted to show you why, all right? You could even go further. Here's a new brake pad that's this thick. Here are your brake pads that are worn out this far. When you take a drive, and I'm not saying everybody has the ability to do this, but when you take a drive with that customer, if they come to pick up and they had brake work done and they spent $450 large, why not go for a ride with them? If the brakes were squealing for 3 months before they came in because they were afraid or they were putting off the expense, why not take a ride with them? Because you and I both know that the brake squeal is going to be gone. And this has added bonus to it, all right? Because when you're in the car with the customer and they're driving and the brakes aren't squealing anymore because you verified the complaint when they brought it in, and after you fixed it, it's quiet. You could even joke with the customer, hey, you hear that? Like, what?
No.
You hear that? You know what that is? That's the sound of your brakes not squeaking anymore. How cool is that, right?
That's the value proposition, right?
I mean, that's huge. But wait, there's more. You can take it even one step further. When you pull back into the lot, okay? I don't care. You can look at 1,000 dealerships, and 998 of them will not have enough Google reviews, and they will not have enough relevant Google reviews. So there's nothing wrong. After you come back and you've done that drive with the customer, they're smiling ear to ear because their brakes don't make noise anymore. That's when you say, hey, Mike, would you do me a favor? What are they going to say? No? Yeah, sure. What is it? Hey, I'm going to send you something to your phone right now. So you're on your phone, you're in your Google Places page, and you send them where they can leave a review. But before you sent that to them, and you've joked with them, hey, you hear that? Oh, you don't hear the squeak anymore. Is this not the best brake job you've ever had done? What are they going to say at that point? Or a couple of other relevant search terms that somebody might search for on Google. So when you say, would you do me a favor? And you send them that review link, they open, would you open it up? I want to make sure it opens. Now they've opened it up, and what's staring them in the face is 5 stars that they can fill out. Hey, a moment ago, you agreed that it was the best brake job near you ever had done. Why don't you could you put that in your review? Just a couple lines. Sure, you've made it easy for them. They hit send, boom. Now you've got another review, but more importantly, you've got a quality review because Google rewards you when somebody does a search for brakes near me or best brakes near me. Those reviews push up to the top. So not only are you putting the customer at ease with that active delivery, but you're also ensuring future business and new business.
All the previous shows that we had in tonight's show all revolve around what I call trust, value, and convenience. And those are the challenges that we're faced probably in any business, but we're talking about fixed ops here. And there's no question in my mind that when you do a solid active delivery with the customer, you're building that trust and you're showing the value on their visit there. No question about it.
That goes a huge way. And, moments earlier, Robert was talking about videos, and that made me think of something. To quote Warner Wolf, let's go to the videotape.
Hello again. I want to thank you again for servicing with us at Hometown Motors, where your peace of mind, safety, and protection of your investment is our goal with every visit. Again, thank you for trusting us with your repairs. And if you have any concerns whatsoever, or in the unlikely event that something comes up that needs attention, please do not hesitate to call me immediately and I will be at your service. So call me at 843-345-6172, or if a text or an email is more convenient, you'll find those on my business card and also at the end of this video. Again, thank you for allowing us to serve you, and we are looking to seeing you next time.
How beautiful is that? It's easy to do. Now, Robert has a green screen in the background, but we all have cameras that shoot in 4K, whether it's an Android or an iPhone. You put it in selfie mode. Hi, that's Robert from the dealership. Less than 60-second video, 30-second, 40-second video. You send that out to the customer. That's huge.
That's actually a big screen TV.
Oh.
It looked like a green screen, Robert.
It looked like a green screen, Robert.
He was giving you directorial credit.
So, I mean, those are all things that build the value and build the trust. Because unless you've done that, the customer's not going to come back. And don't assume they know it.
The active delivery, as we've talked about, is a pivotal part of building a lasting relationship with a client. But I'm going to lean towards Robert. It comes down to the leader. The speed of the team is the speed of the leader. And if we're going to slow down the process to make for a better experience, not only for the client, but for the team member, then it starts with the leader saying, hey, our priority is our client. Our priority is our team member. Our priority is the result of that priority is we will make money, right? We'll build relationships. We'll have connections. It starts with the culture. If it's predominantly driven around, this is a transactional purchase only. Hey, you go there, it's transactional, it's a commodity. You pay, you get your cup of coffee, you get the hell out. That's the experience that's going to happen. And for many of the members that are in the automotive world, particularly in the fixed op side, we got to change that culture from a commodity driven buy and leave to a relational driven buy and stay, right? And be that main person of trust that will not only keep you coming back, but other people. It starts with the leader. The speed of the leader is the speed of the team.
And Joe, that goes back. Robert brought up a great point when he was talking about that, which it goes beyond even the service advisor and service manager. It goes up to the general manager and dealer principal.
Yeah.
If they're driving transactional, if they're driving effective labor rate and hours per RO and gross profit percentages as their number one priority, it's going to all trickle downhill.
Right.
They're going to chase what they can see, right? The advisor's going to chase what they've been told to chase.
Correct.
If I'm going to chase those metrics, that's what I'm going to chase. And ultimately chase an NPS score or a CSI score is the end result of, hey, did I do everything well? That's not really the fact. It's transactional. And now I expect my CSI score to be high because everything was fast. It was transactionally based. You could buy and do everything using technology. So give me a good score. I mean, that's the reality of what we've become. And we don't need to go there. It does start at the very top.
Yes.
You change the culture by saying, we're going to focus on our priority a little differently. The end result will actually be better as a result of those things. Nothing will be sacrificed. You don't have to chase no offense, Paul, but you don't have to chase a Google review because that client will absolutely say good things about that experience if you create that environment.
There's an old Italian saying, the fish stinks from the head, right? I've been in a service drive at 7:30 in the morning with a dealer principal standing right there welcoming customers in. So yeah, no, the dealer definitely sets the tone in all of this because it all trickles down. If the dealer's not bought in, and that one metric that everybody has to watch is customer service. Really, that's the driver that controls all the other ones. Now, the Google reviews, look, it's important, okay? And people mean well, but the reality is they're just not going to do it. They're not. So you have to lead them to do it. But you have to make them feel as though you're not doing it for the money, right? You make the experience what's paramount. And if you make them feel that whether or not they spend any money, you care about them first, that goes a long way. And to Mike's point, Mike had asked, what about pickup and delivery? Well, I think that's huge, huge. It's way ahead of whatever's in second place because my dealer, and I'm going to give them a shameless plug here because they hooked me up, Premier Subaru in Brantford, Connecticut. They come to my house. They bring me a loaner car. They pick up my car for service, whether it's warranty work or customer pay work. They wash my car, they vacuum it, and they bring it back to my house. That's service. You think I'm going to go anywhere else for service? I've already sent them 3 customers in the first 6 months of ownership. They don't have to ask me for referrals. I'm going to give it to them. But I'm somebody that's out there. Not all customers going to be like that. And that's why you do have to ask for the review, but see, after you've earned it.
You of all of us go online all the time and talk up different businesses in your travels. And that's really the new version of when we used to pick up the phone and call people and tell people about the great pizza they had, or the
Pizza Fest today. Sorry,
the great restaurant and all that different stuff. So while Google reviews are important, I think I would listen to something that my friend that I trust, or my relative, or my coworker, if they tell me something good about a business, I think that's going to get me to that business before a Google review. Granted, I'm old, so maybe I'm not the majority, but that's just the way I feel.
And Mike, so obviously I own a small brick and mortar business, and about 10 years it happened for the first time that a lady came in. She was in her early 90s, and we asked her, how did you find us? And she says, oh, I looked you up on Google on my iPad. But
I guess I'm older than her.
I want to tell you guys something really profound. And I like to say when something profound is coming, so you can grab your pen and pencil or paper and write it down. I hope you've been taking notes. But if you don't remember anything from what I said, remember everything everybody else said. But from what I've said, remember this. Unfortunately, there's an epidemic of below average training happening in dealerships and in businesses across the country. So just because training is happening, the trainer was not trained properly. In my recent visit to a dealership, there was a manager coaching, a drive manager coaching the service advisor, and they let me out of there without asking if I still had time, or could I just leave the vehicle and have somebody pick me up to do the recalls on my vehicle. So the guy is coaching the guy, making sure he's doing a good active delivery, yet they don't have a good process, a checklist. And we believe in checklists. You got to have checklists, but not rigid checklists to turn you into a robot, but checklists to ensure that the things that you don't want to miss, that those are actually done every time consistently, because the relationship you cannot put on a checklist. But the things that you don't want to miss, such as recalls or maintenance items that we should recommend. So there's so much average training going on out there that, just because someone has produced good numbers in the past, that doesn't mean they can help you get to the next level. So you've got to double check, learn about the industry, be involved, always show up for the Sunday Night Live with Paul Meijer because he brings the value. Listen to everything Mike and Joe post because they really do post some good stuff. But hey, make sure there are books out there. One is called Train the Trainer. If your trainer has not been trained, if he has not achieved top level in CSI and in sales, and both, not just one, then he probably should not be training. He's probably a good guy, sincere. He deserves to be coached and brought up to the next level, but he shouldn't be training just yet. So if you're doing training, you got to make sure that you get the best caring trainers that will get you to the next level. And by the way, referrals the old way, Mike, I love them. Give every customer, if you do make all makes and models, get them in with some kind of special for oil change and do a QR code that takes them to your appointment booking page so they can have the same great experience as your current customer. So you get them for service, and your customer's friend will say, what do you mean? To take my Ford to a Lexus dealership? Well, if they have an express lane that's beyond amazing and they service all makes and models and they can upgrade customers from their Expedition or from their Lincoln Aviator, whatever the top Lincoln model is, to a Lexus, absolutely. Get them in, show them red carpet service, show them excellence, and they'll end up buying cars from you and servicing with you. And so referrals, word of mouth still works. And I'm with Paul 100% of the way because I've seen the effects of reviews. It brings me 7 to 10 new customers a day. 7 to 10 new customers because of 4.8 rating. So don't ignore the rating. And you earn it by doing what you guys say. You earn it by delivering exceptional service with each customer. But like Paul said, that does not guarantee that they actually will review. We found that when you ask your customers that have been regular customers for, let's say, 10 years, you say, hey, I need some help. It's really tough nowadays. You know, we've all heard that people have been really harsh on customer service personnel, and I need your help. Please post a review if you love the experience. You know already by this point that they love the experience. And everybody knows that customers have been extremely harsh, even on short-staffed business. Instead of giving them the benefit of the doubt, they get angry with people who are working their hearts out, you know, on occasion. Now, that's no excuse for a person who is not overwhelmed to deliver substandard service, right? But anyways, most customers will all of a sudden post you 50 reviews within 2 months, whereas they never posted a review in 10 years, even though they love what you do, but they just simply didn't think about it.
We lost Mike there for a second. His computer's buffering. I want to get to Linda's point. Your valets have to be well-trained. They can make or break the experience. 100% true, right? There doesn't seem to be a shortage on valets or porters. Why not train them to be an active part of that process?
I wanted to go back to your point. Robert, I wanted to bring up, you know, all makes and models is great, but why do you think some dealerships, I won't say all, some dealerships go to all makes and models servicing? Because they don't have enough traffic, because they're not offering a high level of service. Because if you're retaining 30% of your customers, you probably don't have enough traffic. But what if you were able to retain 50 to 60% of the units in operation in your area, or 70%? What would that look like to your service drive at that point? I'm not saying you shouldn't care about other makes and models, but some people use that as a catch-all to bring more cars in there that they're not getting because they're not doing a great job with their current OEM customers. I mean, that's my reality. I could be totally wrong on that, but that's what I believe.
What I love about these conversations is that there's no right or wrong answer, right? It's
so there's that. Can I correct Paul?
And you know, as far as we service all makes and models, I have yet to see anybody successfully do that.
Let me correct that. So that's most makes and models anyway. So that I said that incorrectly. Retraction there. And yes, that's not an excuse for what you're talking about, Paul. It's not a substitute, but I've seen it very successfully done with new movers. They basically invited new movers in the neighborhood to come in for an oil change. And I personally sold 2 vehicles to someone who came in with a Ford Escort back in the day for an oil change. While they were waiting for the oil change, I sold them 2 Volkswagens. So that happens. But yes, you can only do that when you have the capacity and you basically built up an express lane that's second to none, that's better than any Jiffy Lube, that's better than any Take 5. Not as an excuse because you've done a poor job with the rest of it.
I'm just going through some of the comments here. Right. So Mike says about the contactless payment, right, or the ease of payments. He said 10 years ago I was at a Toronto restaurant, and they dropped the credit card machine on my table. Yep. Lost Mike. He'll be back in a second. On my table to complete the transaction at the end of my meal, and just recently it started seeing it in the U.S. One of the restaurants that we go to locally, it's the same thing, right? It's convenience, right? If we have to do more with less, if there are less employees, then we leverage the technology as an aid to what we're doing, not a replacement, because the technology will never replace the conversation that you and I could have in a business setting. That's just never going to happen.
You don't mind that waiter coming by and dropping off the credit card machine if the experience was good, right? You don't mind. And if it's really bad, you'd almost rather get out of there faster, right? And pay for it and get out of there. But if they are shorthanded and the experience is good, you really don't mind expediting the process and giving a good tip in the process, because it's all about the experience.
All right, Jerry Davis says, what do you feel is the optimal number of ROs per advisor can write and deliver a quality customer experience? And I think this is going to depend on experience for one. You know, there are some advisors that you can't give them more than 15, but then there are others that'll write 30 like breaking sticks. So that's, Jerry, that's really up to the experience and the comfort level of the store. I think generically speaking, I'm thinking within 20. What do you guys think?
So that depends on your average mileage per in-service vehicle greatly. If your average mileage per in-service vehicle is like 85,000 miles, like Chevrolet dealer in my town, then you're going to write maybe 13 ROs a day. They're at 2.5 hours, 3 hours labor. You're not going to do more than that, 13, 14. But if you're a high-end or a Honda dealership with maybe 50,000 miles average on your in-service vehicle, then 20 is easy.
Mike, what do you think?
Yeah, I would put it somewhere between 15 and 20 for like a Honda, Toyota, Nissan dealership. Highline probably less than that, 10 to 15 in that range. 15 would be a good goal to shoot for. I think you can comfortably take care of a customer the right way, do all the steps that you're supposed to be doing to ensure a great visit, and everybody leaves happy.
Yeah, I agree. 15 to 20 is max, depending on the environment that they're in.
Ron Usher says you're so right. We lost the wow factor. Yeah, I think we really have for the most part, but that doesn't mean we can't get it back, right? That wow factor, we have another bite at the apple. And that bite at the apple is electric vehicles. Because the customer's perception is they trust the dealer more with the technology. Now, granted, there's not a lot of adoption right now. We're looking at 5 to 7% across the board, with most of that concentrated in certain geographical areas in this country. But it is the mindset, right? Most manufacturers have several EVs that they make. It's the mindset to get customers to think that, hey, we need to go back to the dealer for this because we trust them more. So this is our opportunity to train our people to become experts in EVs so that we become the place where people come for answers.
Well, and even to your point with the EVs, you know, if you're not doing a great job with your current clientele with ICE vehicles, what's going to happen with electric vehicles? I mean, they're going to have other dealerships that they can visit, not just yours. So you've got a window of probably 5 to 10 years to get your act together. And that may sound like a lot of time, but look at how quickly the last 5 or 10 years has sped by us.
Yeah.
And then, you know, you brought up tires earlier, and we all know about electric vehicles burning through tires a lot quicker, but yet we're not very good at the tire business. There's plenty of stores that are, but there's not enough that are really good at it. and they're not actively engaged in being in the tire business. If you don't get into it right now, where are you going to be in 5 or 10 years?
You know, what was interesting is that the other day I was having a conversation with the service manager, and I have certain questions that I ask. It takes a few minutes to size up where somebody's head's at. And I said, so how's your tire business? Didn't seem that interested in it. I said, how come? Well, there's only 10% margin. I said, well, would you be open-minded to looking at something a little differently? He says, well, what do you mean? I said, I'm not in the tire business for the 10% that I make. I'm in the tire business to prevent the 100% of what I'm going to lose if I'm not in the tire business.
Right.
Because that's where the market's going.
Yep.
Now,
Yep.
Robert Allen Carvel, I think we all agree on this 100%. You can have all the processes in the world, but it takes the best employees to implement them.
Yes.
So invest in training your people. People skills are way ahead of whatever's in second place, right? We're hurting for employees. The person that helped you at the supermarket, that's a prime candidate. The person that helped you at the fast food place or a restaurant that wowed you, that's the best place to start looking for some of these people that nobody else seems to be able to find. So kudos to you, Robert. We all agree on that one 100%.
How about retaining those employees? And the fastest way to lose them is by GMs and fixed ops directors focusing on the wrong metrics. As Mike said it earlier, that when you focus only on gross profit percentage and ELR, and you're scared to sell tires, you're holding your advisors to certain numbers that are unrealistic. Yet they might sell a lot of work. They sell all the work that you could be selling. They're doing a great job. But you might be demoralizing them because all you focus on is that ELR, hours per hour, and your gross profit percentage, which need to be watched for sure.
But they're a byproduct of the
You're
experience.
demoralizing your employees, and you're also chasing your customers away because you're not taking care of those pesky oil changes and those pesky tires.
They're going to chase what they are told to chase, whatever that metric is, instead of changing the culture to be non-transactional and more relational. Everything else is a result of. And you'll keep those people, to Robert's point. The retention's higher, right? You care more about individuals by setting the culture. Culture eats strategy for breakfast, right? That's an old quote, but it stands true to this day. Culture drives everything. If it's a culture of money only, that's the end result. That's what you're going to get, transactional.
And Robert's correct. If you've got to build the employee relationships first, if you expect to have any kind of customer relationships, it's not the other way around. You have to have both, but employee relationship has to come first.
When a customer walks in and they see your people smiling or singing or having a great time, and I don't mean in a joking, kind of way, but they actually love being there and they love doing what they do. I mean, that shines. And not only does it shine in person, but it shines on the phone, right? I mean, that's huge. Linda says a customer should never have to call to check the status. If they do, we have a process breakdown. Yep. Another part of the process. I interviewed a dealer in Aruba, Ruben Eurostein, and they tell the customer flat out, don't call the store. They introduce them to the BDC at the sales to service handoff. This is the person that's going to help you. They're the ones that are going to follow up with you because the service advisors are busy getting the cars through the shop. Person's going to call you at this time, and this time to give you status updates. And they stick to that word. So the customer doesn't have to worry about, well, I dropped my car off at 7:30. How come nobody's calling me? Because they don't need to. They know they're going to get a call at 9 o'clock. And guess what? 2 minutes before 9, the phone rings and it's the dealership's BDC department in Aruba calling the customer and informing them of everything they told them, they promised them they were going to do. So Linda, that's a great point.
The old 10, 12, and 2. Remember that, Paul?
Yeah.
Yep.
Was that there was a soda can, or wasn't there a soda brand?
You told me that one.
Dr. Pepper, I think he referred to. I never drank Dr. Pepper, but I think that's the soda that he referred to. Ron Usher, I remember setting up a display in the showroom of new and old parts so the customers themselves could see the difference between a worn out part and a new one. Not all people know what a brake caliper looks like. You know something? The reason you want to do that at the dealership is because the aftermarket has one up on you. Because in the aftermarket, it's a lot easier for the manager to walk the customer over to their car and show them exactly what's going on. If you have a dealership with 50, 60 repair bays, you're not going to have customers coming in and out of that repair shop to show them. So yeah, to have a display like that really is priceless. Any other comments that you guys see that we want to make sure we address here? Robert Allen Carvel, it's all about holding your team accountable for what they do. Exceptional customer experience results in returning customers / retention. Hold everybody accountable, starting with ourselves.
Starts with the leader.
Yep. Tully's got a comment. It's all about the hours. We know Tully for that. And I translate that as complete care, that you sell customers everything they need. Like if you're doing an engine job and that car needs a wiper, that you sell them the wiper. You don't worry that's going to bring down your average hours per RO. So it's all about complete care, 100% truth in automotive servicing.
Yep. Tully's got it nailed down.
He sure does.
Jerry says, I just wanted to hear what the experts think. Where are those? Tully says, focus on the hours only. Focus on the experience and the hours will come. Joe Duran says, Paul, correct. The frontline client-facing workers can be infectious in a good way or bad, and that has a huge impact on the bottom line. I've walked into plenty of places where I looked at somebody and I go to the manager and said, what's wrong with this person? So what do you mean? What do I mean? This person's going to scare off half the people coming into your drive. That's what I mean. Linda says the Dr. Pepper rule. Yes, I remember. That's what he said. Mike Weldon, hours. The hours are a result of the experience. Robert Villanueva says, Paul Meijer, awesome point. Happy employees and an amazing energy in the service department creates an environment that customers enjoy visiting.
Guys, is there anything more fun and more rewarding than being able to look a customer straight in the eyes and with confidence tell them, because you know how your technicians do those MPIs completely, that Mr. and Mrs. Customer, today we have offered complete care to the best of our professional knowledge. We have repaired your vehicle and we verified that that repair is completed. The concern has been eliminated. You know, the 3 C's, concern, cause, correction. And no longer do you have to worry about it. And this is the warranty. And by the way, we're here for you. And here, let's glorify the green and say, look, these are the things you don't need to worry about because we took care of all of them. And now you're good to go for another 7,000 miles when we have to do just an oil change service. So we're going to schedule that. But how rewarding is that on the delivery when you can look your customers in the eye because you know that the whole operation is committed to excellence. And your technicians, your warranty administrator, your valet, your detailers have done an excellent job. You can point out how beautiful the car is, and it runs better because it's clean. The aerodynamics and the fuel efficiency have been improved because the wind glides better on a clean car.
Love it.
And on that note, I want to thank you all for tuning in. I want to thank my co-hosts here for sharing some wonderful nuggets with the audience. To those watching on the replay, thank you. I appreciate it. We get a lot of people that watch it on the replay because I'll get comments or messages 45 minutes into an hour show, sometimes weeks later. So hope this brings you all value. The way I look at life is if you can pick up just a little nugget out of everything you do, then you'll accumulate a lot of tools in your life toolbox. So gentlemen, thank you. Any parting words before we leave?
Thank you all for participating. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for being here and engaging in the conversation.
Make it happen.
Thank you.
All right, guys, stay on after we, best regards from Malaysia. Oh, send me some lumpia. Just saying. All right, thanks for watching. Have a safe and successful week. We'll see you next week on Sunday Night Live.